When you're writing your screenplay, you don't want to have to think about formatting. Final Draft 11 automatically paginates and formats your script to industry standards, allowing writers to focus on what they do best, writing. Final Draft, used on 95% of all productions, contains many features that make your writing process easier and more efficient. Final Draft, the #1 selling screenwriting software worldwide, also offers the Final Draft mobile app for iPhone and iPad, making creativity truly portable. Bring your story to life with Final Draft 11. It all starts with a script.
You all. Hi, I welcome you all to the last panel discussion for the day on travel filmmaking. Being a travel filmmaker often means more than just capturing the highlights of a foreign land. The genre asks for human stories, a sensitive perspective, and an interesting narrative that transfers a unique experience from on behind the screen to the person behind the camera. So for this, we have two amazing travel filmmakers with us today. Florian is a young content creator and student rooted in south of Germany. With photography, his preferred shoot circle around the vibrant land and cityscape. It is important to him not to use social media as a self-displaying tool, but rather to provide a window into the world for his audience. Ayush with us. Ayush is a mechanical engineer, student from BITS Pilani, and founder at Owl Media. Ayush found a passion for online content creation and technology at the age of 11. He has traveled around the world with many major companies and is currently working on producing a travel show. So I welcome you all to the discussion. And first of all, my personal favorite is travel filmmaking. I have been attempting to make a travel film for a very long time. And I was very impressed with your work. Your show reels look amazing. So first of all, I'll begin by asking you what led you to travel filmmaking? Why travel filmmaking?
You want to start, Ayush?
Florian.
Go
Yeah,
on.
I know
Go
you.
on. Yeah, I should start. I mean, that's fine to me. I mean, the story is basically kind of like the same to you, Harsh, because when I was like 15, I just saw those amazing content creators, and obviously I can draw up like in particular one video, which was the Watchtower of Turkey. I'm sure most people that are into travel filmmaking have seen that one. I mean,
We have
it set a
been obsessing over that for 5 days, I guess.
yeah. I mean, it just set the bar for everything else. And then just in terms of creators, there was Jay Alvarez, if you know him, and his videos were very around this couple sort of style and a particular lifestyle that at the time I was very impressed by. By now, I kind of grew out of it because I realized at what cost, you know what I mean? So I kind of changed my style of travel filmmaking away from, framing me as the person that travels and, I'm so amazing, I'm being here. Instead, I shifted it to like portraying the country itself and the people in the country, maybe sometimes also making people aware about social stuff that's going on in the country.
Right. I think for me, it was much more simpler. So I was always interested in filmmaking and storytelling. And Casey Neistat was my all-time inspiration. And then I started watching all these new age content creators. Watchtower of Turkey was one of the videos that I watched. And Sam, he was killing it at the time. I remember he released his 2016, my year 2016, and it blew up online. And I watched it, and I took a trip, and I had just started filmmaking. I was always interested in it, but I never took that step of actually making a movie. You actually think a lot before taking that action. So I was in that thinking process, and then I was like, okay, I'm taking a trip with my friends. I have to record it. And when I did that, when I recorded the trip and I made the video, it was one of the best trips of my life. Not because the trip was great, but because I had so much fun capturing the trip. And that's when I realized I like to travel, but I love to shoot even more. I Shooting while traveling is something which goes way beyond just traveling. So I think that's how I found my passion. Ki, yaar, haan, this is something which I absolutely like.
You both love traveling. Matlab, I was going through your profiles and you shot something around the marathon. You were recording yourself when you were doing a marathon. It goes long time back when you were with your friends in the college campus, and I could see that how much you love working with the camera, and I can figure it out that it's all about taking the first step. So it's all about if you put your first step forward and just go out there and shoot it. So Ayush here has been brought up in India, so he kind of started his journey from India. So, but Florian, what brought you here? Not once but twice.
No, it actually was just once. It actually was just once. But the one time I don't want to miss, and I definitely want to come back as well, right as soon as this pandemic and this whole shit is over. What brought me here was I did an internship, a 1-year internship where I learned professional filmmaking at like a professional film production company. And then right after that, I told you I was like inspired by all those other creators out there. Also Sam Koldo, obviously, I forgot to mention him. I mean, definitely. And then I started my trip first through Norway. And when I got back home, we didn't really know what to do. And then there was this amazing opportunity to go to Sri Lanka and work in kind of like a children's home and like support them also with multimedia content. And then obviously from Sri Lanka, it's only a very short trip to India. And because we thought that the south of India and the South Indians might not go at me, but the south of India was probably more close to what Sri Lanka is like, and we want to have something else. So we decided to go to North India, in particular like Jaipur, Jodhpur, etc., to capture those beautiful cities. And I must say, it was, I mean, as a Westerner coming to India, it's just like you see it in all the movies. You're just overwhelmed by all the sounds, by all the smells, by all those people. But what I can say is that I don't want to miss it. You know, it was an absolutely amazing experience being there. And what I'm particularly like proud of is the video I did and the pictures I took. They always remind me of the beauty of the country. And like, it's not only in my head, but I also have it as hard data, and I can always relive it.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you, Florian. What was your favorite partner? Like, what did you like in our country the most?
You know, it's kind of like a stereotype, obviously, but the moment where my heart like sank, and I only had that one other time, was obviously we went to Agra. We went there for sunrise to the Taj Mahal. There was no one else. Like, it was crazy because we were like literally, because for me it was very important to get those shots with no one else in the pictures. So we knew we gotta get to be there like as the first ones. And I saw that Taj Mahal while sunrise, and like my heart, like, because I've seen it a gazillion times, you know, in all those movies. And the only other time that happened was when I first saw the Eiffel Tower, because you're just looking, there's this incredible structure that you've seen a billion times that is so familiar, but then you're seeing it in real life and it's just amazing.
That makes sense.
I have the same question for you, Ayush. What was the moment while making films that your heart sank? One moment where you realized ki, what is this amazing scenic beauty?
So I think filmmaking and travel are still a little distinct for me. I don't particularly mash them up in my life because travel filmmaking is just 10% of what I do in life. But for me, this moment happened primarily just before I made my first video. So Casey had released a video with Owen, who is his son, and the video was titled "My 13-year-old Son," and they took a trip to Machu Picchu. It's a 25-minute long video, one of the most beautiful travel films I think there is. And I'll tell you what's the best part about, and why I keep mentioning Casey again and again and again. That person shot that video on a small Canon G7X, which is a very like relatively very cheap camera. He didn't have an external microphone, nothing, and he was just capturing the trip like any tourist would capture, like a normal individual would capture. There were no cinematic shots, there were no drone shots, but when you watch that video on YouTube, I can bet if you like travel, if you like filmmaking, or if you like storytelling, you are going to watch the entire video. The retention on the video was crazy. So I was like, okay, so it's not the camera, it's not the destination, what story you are telling. So when I watched that video, I was like, this is what I want to do. And then I looked around for stories for a couple of days, couldn't find any. And BITS Pilani is a college which is in the middle of a desert. Like there's nothing around the college. So I was like, okay, this college, what is the most special thing this college has given me in the last 1 year? And I could only think of my friends. So I made a video for my closest friend, and then I gave it to him. But during the process of me shooting that video, and he didn't know that I was actually shooting him, so I just went with the camera, and he thought, oh, he's that idiot who always comes up with a camera and just takes random pictures and videos. So I shot him, and during that process of 2-3 days, I was just so involved in the process that I forgot what classes there are. I forgot what am I eating. And when I got out of the process, I realized that जो 3 दिन हैं, these 3 days went like this, and I was so happy the entire time. And to be in that flow, to be in that zone, was a blessing that I had never experienced. And I think that's when I knew that, okay, I have to do this. Like I have to do this. Now, maybe exaggerating the feeling, but it was definitely there. Like a ring was there. Okay, I'm loving the process, and this is what I'd love to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
you mentioned the point of equipment, and I fully agree. Like there's all those memes actually I've seen that there's always the professional filmmakers telling the others that you don't need gear while they shoot on their Arri Alexa or whatever. But yeah, I also started out with like a simple GoPro and just filmed like usual stuff that was not very special, and suddenly got like, I don't know, in the earlier days GoPro had this like video of the day, you know. And then one thing led to another. It got GoPro video of the day. I got more attention. So suddenly people were interested in it. So I got my first customers. And then I was able to buy better gear. So to start out, you really don't need much. And then in regards to the whole being in the flow, I can totally recall that. The only thing is, what I always tell people is when they watch my videos and they say, oh, look, it's so amazing in, I don't know, like Paris, India, whatever, or Hawaii or whatever. If you are the one filming, and that at least counts for me, and I also write that in my YouTube bio, is in those videos, I obviously don't show all the bumpy bus rides. I don't show the times I've slept in the car because I got to save money. I'm on a budget and I want to create, but I don't have that much money, right? So you don't, it's important to note that you only show probably like the most beautiful stuff. And then also you are there, but like your life consists out of getting up for sunrise to get that shot. You can't sleep in, you know, and missing out food. How often have I had that, you know, because I was just so in the flow of shooting. I was so concentrated and said, oh, this is amazing. And I totally forgot to eat and everything. I can so relate.
Totally. I think what people see is a very glamorous side of filmmaking and travel filmmaking, but in reality, it's a lot of I don't know, it's a very bumpy ride. It's not as smooth as the video looks, for sure.
Yeah, travel filmmaking specifically falls in, people look at it as a very soothing and very generous form. And I also want to ask you, I had a question, what were the equipments you started out with? I was going to ask it later, but I guess this is the right time. What were the equipments you started out with?
Should I start? So as I just mentioned, it was basically the GoPro Hero 3. And I bought that with all the money I had at the time because I was like 15 or 16 maybe. And I just started out with that. I even tried to do vlogs with it, and obviously the microphone is shitty or was shitty. So yeah, I started out with that, got some attention, got the first clients, bought a first video like a camcorder that people don't use today. I don't know why I bought that in the first place. Then I got the GH4. The GH4, and I'm still at the GH5 actually because I just love the camera.
So I started out with a Canon 700D. Used it for I think three and a half years. Upgraded to a Sony A6300, and I haven't really upgraded ever since. Now, whenever I'm about to go to like a location, I usually rent out a camera because I feel it's not the best investment for me because I only shoot travel videos like 3-4 times a year, and rest of the times my time goes into production. So and a lot of times all the videos that are there on my channel, I have used this camera, which is the A6300, which is a very basic like prosumer camera. It's not even like proper pro. But this is the camera that I use, and I use a GoPro now, which was the latest one. I try to keep my GoPro the best one because I don't think they have the best quality. So I think once you sort of get into go deeper into filmmaking, quality starts mattering to you. It doesn't matter that much to the audience, to be honest. If your story and the flow is right, but it matters to you as a filmmaker. You are way more technically concerned than anybody who's watching the video.
That's so true, yo. I remember how often I graded something like to perfection, but like in reality, it's just like a 2-second scene and nobody really, recognizes it. But still, though, it's that paying attention to detail, though, that sometimes separates you from others. It still matters because, like, in the whole, it matters. But like individually, it doesn't really matter if your video is like 4K at that point or whatever. But yeah, as a whole, paying attention to detail is still important.
True.
Yeah. So Ayush, I was going through your profile and there has been a lot of experimentation going over your Instagram and all. So will you be moving forward like this, experimenting with things, trying out different things and attempting to make something new? Or is there something you are planning to settle with?
Of course not. Like, that's the idea, right? To not settle. And I think it's so evident when you go to, let's say, my website or the things that I do. I always do 3, 4, 5 things consecutively and one thing properly. It's like a T. Like, I'll be doing like 7, 8 things horizontally and then one thing properly, and this proper thing usually funds me, brings me money, and then I'm able to sustain my lifestyle. So that's my company for now. I run a video production house and I've been doing that for almost 8 months. We do a lot of different things. We are producing a travel show as well. We are still into travel, but we are into 10 different things. And as a creator, my idea is to, so with my podcast, it's focused on college students. YouTube is just me having fun on the weekends. Instagram is where I try to deliver value. Similarly, on YouTube, I have a lot of tutorials where whatever I've learned, because I'm self-taught, so whatever I've learned, I try to inject value back into the system. And so yeah, that's the entire idea of like whatever I'm doing, different things, different platforms. And the idea is to keep experimenting and never stop that, because if you're self-employed, then why not?
Yeah. Also, how difficult has been in the pandemic to sustain this idea? Were there some difficulties or the pandemic benefited it?
Okay. Florian, I'll quickly take this question up first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So it was actually sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's obviously like it's hard to travel. Past summer I was very lucky because numbers were so low, and Europe is also kind of good because you can just drive and we basically have no borders and so no controls. So you can just go to a couple of countries where maybe the incidence was low as well. So we went, for example, to Switzerland and had a nice cloud there. But obviously it was very, very hard. Like a lot of jobs also, like I have this company that I regularly work with in Dubai. And then obviously they always have to calculate that I might have to isolate, or like they might have to pay for a couple tests, etc. It just hardens things. Luckily for me, the whole travel filmmaking stuff is by now is just a way to like have an income and not needing to work, for example, in like the service industry, like as a waiter or something. And I can still sustain my college stuff, my college expenses and everything. So I'm kind of lucky. Also have very supportive parents, obviously. But I think as soon as this pandemic is over, we'll have an incredible travel boom. Like everyone is gonna go out. Nobody wants to stay at home anymore, So I'm really looking forward to that, and let's just hope it's gonna be soon over soon.
100%. I think travel companies are going to have a blast post-pandemic, and hopefully they recover whatever they've lost in the last 1.5 years. For me, 2020 was a great year, to be honest. It's and I feel guilty when I say that, because it wasn't so good for a lot of people. So it was the year that I was able to take the leap of faith. So I was always a freelancer, and I was a freelancer for almost 3.5 years. But during the pandemic, because I couldn't travel, my entire year was sort of shut off, because I planned so many trips, so many collaborations, so many brand deals. And then all of them, poof, gone in a snap. So I didn't work for 2-3 months. I was just chilling, not doing anything. And I was also, I'm still in college, so I was studying and I was finishing up. And then I realized, okay, I think it's the right time to sort of start a company. It was very instinctive. I didn't know if I'll have clients, and I started it, and it is grown to be way bigger than what I thought it to be. And we are about 20 people strong now. And
Amazing.
I never expected this to scale so big in this short amount of time, especially with the pandemic going on. So it has been a blessing in disguise, and I'm extremely grateful. So for me, 2020 was actually a great year, and it has come to a point where now travel filmmaking, I'm not getting the time to do travel filmmaking, but when I really want to. So I think, yeah,
That's amazing that you were able to build a whole company out of this. Like, that's very impressive. Obviously, when I was doing it like full time, I was kind of thinking about that, but that's just maybe like, I don't know when you do trail filmmaking, because personally, I'm just a very lone wolf, not gonna lie. Like, whenever there's someone else, I just feel like I could do it better myself. But then obviously I only pursue projects that I'm also able to carry on myself. Obviously at a certain point, if you have very big projects, you need a lot of people, but I always kept my workload in a way that I could do it myself. And so I'm kind of focused on being like a lone wolf, just getting up for sunrise to a crazy place or whatever. But it's very impressive that you were able to pull this off. Like, I'm very happy for you.
I think likewise, when I am hands-on on a project, I like to work alone. And I think the same goes for you as well. We have learned all facets of filmmaking, whether it's color, whether it's editing, whether it's shooting, writing, just because we are a filmmaker. And as a filmmaker, when you're working alone, you have to learn all these facets. But for me, I just felt I've always had like an entrepreneurial sort of spirit. Ever since I was growing up, my first company was when I was 14, but then I closed it on at 16. Travel just came in the middle and then went right out, I think. So I knew this transition was like supposed to happen eventually, but I just didn't know it would happen like in 2020, and then it would actually turn out to be one of the best things that I've ever done.
Awesome.
Yeah, 2020 sounds good, great for you. And I've met almost 90% of the people personally who said that 2020 was a great year for them. While people on Instagram have been posting what a bad year 2020 is, and I'm confused. Is it only on Instagram that 2020 is bad? Because I'm not sure.
I mean, so one thing we definitely have to take into account, and that counts for me as well in 2020, is that the fact that people spend more time in front of their screens as a content creator, from a content creator point of view, that's actually a good thing because they consume more. So
Right.
for me, like, my watch times went through the roof, like the engagement rates, etc. So that was definitely a good thing. But then at the same time, obviously horrible somehow.
It was good for content creators, I guess. Yeah.
I think as a whole, yes. Maybe some months were really turbulent for a lot of people. And maybe we were in that privileged category where we didn't face the kind of troubles that a lot of people faced throughout the world. So, yeah.
So, Florian, I had this question put down. When you are traveling, travel filmmaking is also a lot about storytelling. So, how do you figure out the story when you are traveling? Do you just go out and shoot, or is there some planning that I'll shoot this and that, and you draft the story of basically what you want to narrate through your films?
That's such a good question. And it's probably also, I don't know actually if I'm doing that different than anyone else, but I always try to prepare something and then I'm actually visiting the country. That was like the biggest case with Morocco. Like I thought, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this and that. And then I was there and it just turned out so incredibly different. So for me, it's actually the fact, also because I'm doing it alone. So if you're doing it in a big team, you need some sort of storyline that everyone is on the same page so you can actually create something like that works, right? But if you're alone and you're only responsible on your alone and you can think about the story while you're at it traveling, then that works as well, And so for me, much of the story I do accumulates in the editing process, where I have all the experience from my travels, all those pictures and videos obviously that I gained there, and then I see, okay, how do I stitch that together in like a beautiful way